tonight's tactical enhancement is beer. So tonight we've got a 3,000 point game of Oldhammer. I've got my Demons of Khorne army here, slightly under 3,000 points. 3 units of Juggernauts, 2 units of Bloodletters, a couple of units of Hounds, and some big unfriendly unpainted fucker on the left there. And some Air Guard because the mosquitoes are out in force. And here we have a close-up of my pretties, the ones I've actually bothered to paint. And some more pretty fellows here. And they're pretty little fellows behind them. And here we have Emilio's Beastmen army, and maybe talk me through what you've got from this side.
Yeah, so we've got a herd over here of Gores and Ungores. There's about 24 in that block, and then we've got an equal block over here of the same, and then moving over to the Beastigores. So there's a block of 16 Beastigores. These Centigores include a Gorehooth. They aren't the accurate models, but I'll have those replaced down the track.
I think you have a traitor from one of my other armies in their midst. We'll sort him out later.
That's it. We've got 10 Harpies over here, and we've got our Minotaurs. So there's a unit of 4, and we've got our 2 Shamans. So one Shaman is the Great Bray Shaman, and the other is the Bray Shaman.
He looks suspiciously like he's a convert from Zench.
I'd say he is, but he's wearing a mask, so that sort of hides the beastie underneath. Now this guy's your typical old giant and a good old chaos spawn.
Yep, that's what you do with these spare bits on the sprue.
That's it. It's nasty boy. And then we've got something that I find very effective is the war wagons, the chariots.
And how many chariots do we have here?
So there's actually, you can see 3, but there's actually 4. The 4th one still needs to be purchased and built. And then behind them, we've actually... This
is not a tournament-ready list.
No, it's not. We've got two lots of 5 Chaos Warhounds. Again, not accurately reflected, but down the track they will pretty much be looking the same. Oh, yes,
alrighty then, and that's the mess of it in their entirety.
There's the general.
Oh, that's the general. All right.
There's the beast. There's the beast lord.
He looks
head honcho.
Suitably ugly. All right. Okay, and here's our deployment. I stacked heavily on my left flank, and Emilia's got 2 giant units of Gores and whatnot, one hiding in the tower to protect the magic users and one in ambush, so they'll turn up in some random dice roll, God knows where. And my strategy is to lure him in and then position myself to hit him exactly where I want him. And Emilio, what's your strategy?
My strategy is to lure him in and strike him when he's stretched. Now, considering Beastmen, they are more strategic. Chaos, on the other hand, just come in for the kill and bloodlust.
I think that's extremely optimistic given the fluff in the books.
That's what they're called, bloodletters. They want to let out some blood. So they're not going to hide in the forest, and they've got a greater demon with them, so they're really brave, and they're just basically going to make contact as quick as they can.
I think this is an optimistic reflection of how Amelia wants me to play today. Right, so it's turn 1. This is the dice roll to see who goes first. I got a +1 because he's got a shed load more units and I finished deploying earlier. No, still fuck it up.
I go first.
This happens every time.
Next phase.
Right, so Emilio's forces have shuffled forward at the speed of the chariots, and we will now see what he does for the winds of magic. Bugger all, that's nice. So Emilio's magic did absolutely nothing, so I've moved up on the flanks and I'm holding steady in the centre, just out of the maximum charge range of those chariots. And there's 4 of the bastards, or 3 in a business card with words on it. So we want to be very careful on how we handle those. Alright, it's the top of turn 2, and you can see the Beastman line is very reactive to the encroaching Juggernauts, or Blood Crushers, or whatever they're called these days. So he's got roughly half his army facing off ready for flankers, and the chariots still hoping to get into the middle into this mess.
Yeah, and see what that greater demon does.
Yeah. Probably not what Emilio wants him to do. Now, for the magic phase, hock some dice. 2 dice.
Oh, 3 sixes.
I'm glad that doesn't count. two dice.
Damn it. Did you film 3 sixes then?
I did film 3 sixes. That's more like
That's
it's
more
7.
like 7 for magic.
Right. And plus you roll 1 dice for each mage, and on a 6 you get extra 1. Alright, so 7 dice for you, and what was it, 5 for me?
Yeah.
Now it's the top of, well, it's the end of the Beastmen turn 2, and they cast a spell with 5 dice, rolled 3 sixes, and knocked 2 wounds off of the blood crushers over here. And fortunately, he rolled a dimensional cascade on the miscast table. The mages got away with it, but that's now the casualty pile. They were what was garrisoning the tower. They're fucked. This is what's now garrisoning the tower. It's now the end of the movement phase for turn 2 demons, and the pincer is starting to take shape.
The pincer.
Oh, it is a pincer. I've decided to go out and deal with the chariots, even if they charge me, because all of their rank units are not in position to do anything to support the chariots. And it's a gamble, but yeah, fuck it. We've only got 2 hours left to play. And I've got 1 unit of blood crushers that are probably going to get slaughtered, but they've got to hold the flank up somehow. One of my units of flesh hounds turned up, and they've manoeuvred in position to attack the tower, while all the other units have their back turned, and the garrisons are slightly depleted. Alright, it's the end of the movement phase for Beastmen turn 3. 3 of those bloody chariots got into contact with my bloodletters.
Yes.
They were so successful getting in, there wasn't even space for the 4th, which is fair because it's a business card. There's still a whole lot of troops tied up on the Beastman's left flank for that 1 unit of blood crushers. On the Beastman's right flank, there's some Minotaurs there looking to charge into the building to rescue the mages once the remainder of the garrison is cleared out. And he's gone stacks on that 1 unit of blood crushers. The good news is, if I can just hold out against that chariot charge, I'll be able to break through the center. So we'll see how the dice roll. Now for the magic phase, 2 dice, thank you, Emilio. What's that, a 6 and a 2?
6 and a 2.
Alright, we'll see how we go. So in the Beastman magic phase, his level 2 mage bumped off one of the ward dogs with a direct damage spell. And his level 4 mage then rolled 4 dice, 3 of which were 6s. Bumped off another one of these flesh hounds, but managed to turn himself into a level 1 mage in the process. Alright, here's the damage from the chariot charge. The chariots wasted pretty much half that unit of bloodletters, but they're steadfast because they got ranks. There's a standard bearer, army standard bearer there, there's a general there, so leadership 9 with a reroll.
Ooh,
and they whiffed the first one. Oh, this is not good. Come on, boys. Come on, boys.
Oh, they passed.
See, that's the inspirational presence and motivation of a bloodletter breathing down your neck.
I wanted that.
This lot here, pretty much entirely the handiwork of the Minotaurs, just cleaned up an entire unit of blood crushers in 1 melee phase. At the end of the 3rd demon turn...
impact hits as well, we forgot, sorry. But that's just...
Let's try this again. At the end of the demon's move, I've pulled off my flank attack into the chariots. The greater demon has picked on 1 lone chariot. That's what you get for putting in a business card as a stand-in for a chariot. The juggernauts have managed to pull off a clipping charge against the Minotaurs. The dogs are attacking those poor bastard wizards in the tower. And over there on the flank, we're road testing whether my advice to Amelia about how to withstand a juggernaut charge actually fucking works. So the situation at the bottom of turn 3 is that the demons have smashed the center and absolutely destroyed the chariots. There's one left running away or wounded, and I'm surrounding the general's unit. The mages are still holding out in the tower, and there's another unit of juggernauts just messing with the beastman's right flank, just tying everything up there. And I'm filming at a weird camera angle because I've run out of battery and had to plug in the bloody camera. It's now the top of turn 4, and I have another unit of juggernauts that are about to get slaughtered. There's been some combat reforms, and those guys are now surrounded, and the ambushing Gauls unit has turned up, ready to crack them in the back if they don't break before. But there's reinforcements on the way.
And a greater demon.
And a greater demon. And over here, the giants managed to just get in on the flank of these blood crushers. So we'll see how this goes. This could be anyone's fight. And over there, we're enjoying the unbridled dysfunction of building rules in Warhammer. We decided we'd let the Minotaurs in to try and flush out those dogs because it just made more sense than any other interpretation of the rules.
We don't want the dogs to chew up the shamans.
Well, we do, but...
So the dogs are chasing the shamans and the Minotaurs are chasing the dogs.
It's a Bugs Bunny episode in that building. And now for the magic.
Yes.
Well, that's not what I needed. At the end of the Beastman's melee, well, it's a bit of a mess. The dogs have been cleaned out of the building by a mage who decided to buff himself into a combat god. Over here, it's still a shit fight going in both directions, so that's anyone's game. And over on this flank, you can see that the troops that were fighting the Blood Crushers have now reformed after successfully killing off all the Blood Crushers. Nice little counterpunch by the centaurs, and a bit of retrospective combat reforms because we fucked some stuff up in the previous turn. So that's the current state of play, and I've got to turn this around to kill enough stuff to make this into a Khorne victory. So at the end of the demon movement phase, my greater demon's finally fighting something worthwhile. He's going to bash up some Minotaurs. Those demons have just killed that fucking chariot. I've redeployed this unit with a reform to be able to face that charge over there when those beastmen come in, and I'll just quickly reform their mates there after killing that chariot. And the other pack of dogs came on, so I've just brought them on the flank to make themselves a bit useful in whatever melee comes in later.
You thought you'd do more though, didn't you, Chris?
I did think I'd do more. That was a short round of melee. I polished off the Minotaurs, but the stubborn giant managed to pass his leadership roll on a 10, the bastard. It's now the end of the movement phase for the Beastmen turn 5. We have some Minotaurs that come out of the building and some puppy dogs went in there. The Harpies are throwing themselves into the Blood Crushers here. Over here, the General's unit, what's left of it, and some lump of random chaos crap, has decided to charge the Bloodletters. And he's moved up his last unit, the ambushing unit of Gauls, for a stand-up fight. There's some flanking centaurs over there that might make themselves useful later on. And then there's my dogs. I had some vague notion of doing a redirect, but that's not going to work, so I'll just try and grab a flank later on. And overall, the field is looking just a little bit thinned.
Yeah, definitely.
And now for turn 5 magic. Well, that's crap for Emilio and pretty good for me. Alright, it's the end of turn 5 Beastmen. Their magic did sweep Fanny Adams. He's bumped off another Juggernaut or two, but the Giant's taken a couple of wounds. Over here, the elite infantry got eaten alive by the demons. That did not work out well for them at all. But the general's stubborn with some magical crown. God knows what a crown looks like in a beastman. Probably not pretty. So they're sticking around for another round. Demon movement was quick and dirty. They're just barreling on in to try and win the rest of the melee. This giant has rolled chomp every turn for about 3 turns in a row, and rolled 3 chomps, which is the maximum, every turn in a row, and has single-handedly eaten his way through a unit of 4 fucking blood crushers. Well, it's been a successful round of melee, but they just won't quite break. There's a general and army standard bearer fighting what's left of a unit. A bit of gribbly nonsense. Chaos Spawn's dead. And I'm killing plenty of gores. Unfortunately, there's plenty more where they came from, so they're holding the line for now. And we're just about to move into turn 6. This is the end of the Beastmen's turn 6. It's the last turn, and they've got their Minotaurs in combat with the Great Demon of Khorne, which is probably not a good thing, because he's now got 3 models in base contact with him, so he gets a whole bunch of extra attacks. And over here, the Centaurs have charged up the back end of the Bloodletters, and we'll see if that helps or hinders when they turn around and start going all choppy. And the dogs have consolidated into the general. Oh, and over here, the mages have finally come out of the tower in order to get close enough to do a few more spells. And if I'm very, very lucky, that means I might be able to kill them. Okay, last turn of magic. Oh, that's exactly what he wanted. Bugger. Well, it's the end of the turn 6 for the Beastmen, and we only have 1 turn remaining of the demons. Emilio's chosen to concede. It's actually pretty close. There's not much left except in the casualty piles. There's dead shit everywhere. Over here, the Minotaurs got chased off. Half of them killed, half of them ran away. So it's just a wounded demon against a wounded giant. 2 wounded mages, although it's worth noting they wounded themselves pretty comprehensively.
And destroyed their own unit.
Over here, the general and standard bearer carked it from killing blow attacks from the demons, finally. And over here, we've got the remaining unit of Gores, which, well, they stuck it out pretty well. But if we were to go into the demons turn 6, they would get flank attacked, and the hero there with his big wacky stick would have joined the fray, and who knows, that might have been enough to bump him off. So it was a close one. It was closer than I thought it would be. So, what have we learned?
I think my army. I think the balance was right. I just don't think that a lot of the magic and a lot of the items they had were terror causing magic and items against an enemy that actually is immune to fear.
Yeah,
and terror.
immune to psychology. That's
so a lot of points were spent for the wrong sort of army, but I didn't know what army you were going to bring to the table. So this time it worked for you. And I didn't have any ballistic fire. So working against an enemy that specialises in close hand-to-hand combat, against me, who specialised in hand-to-hand combat, you beat me in the end because you had, I think, a little bit more muscle. And you really did well coming through the centre, even though I hit you hard with my chariots.
Well, thank you for that. I have to say, these fellas are tougher than I thought they would be. They've destroyed 12 juggernauts, pack of dogs, almost all the bloodletters. I'm just lucky the Greater Demon managed to pick his own fights.
If the wizards hadn't destroyed their own unit of 30 cores, we probably would have actually had a bit more holding power and more spells, because they lost their levels from the miscast table.
Yeah.
So that could have actually changed things, maybe in the combat against the...
It's worth noting this is not the first time that Emilio's mages have destroyed the unit they were embedded in. Well, that was a carnage shit fight. That was lovely. On that note, I think it's time to call it a day.